They say marriage is built on love, trust, and communication. Whoever said that clearly never married a woman like Mila. See, Mila wasn't just beautiful. She was the kind of woman who made waiters forget your drink order, made women suspicious of their own husbands, and made me, an otherwise confident, grounded guy, feel like the nerd who somehow got invited to sit at the cool kids' table. She had this air about her, like she walked through life expecting to be watched, admired, desired. And to be fair, people did. I used to watch her brush her hair in the morning and think, damn, how did I get this lucky? We'd been married for just over a year when I noticed the shift. Nothing dramatic. No slammed doors, no screaming matches, just little comments. Tiny cracks in the walls I didn't even know were there. The first time it happened, we were out to dinner with her friend Lana and her new boyfriend, Chad. Yeah, I know, Chad. He looked like someone had genetically engineered him to be a walking protein shake. Tight black shirt, biceps bigger than my thighs, jawline you could use as a straight edge. We were at this sleek rooftop restaurant, soft jazz playing in the background, string lights overhead, the kind of place that made you order appetizers you couldn't pronounce and pretend to enjoy kale. We were halfway through the second bottle of wine when Mila leaned back in her chair, swirling her glass, and said, I told Alex we should go to Iceland. I smiled, nodding along. Yeah, we've been talking about it. Northern Lights, hot springs. She cut me off with a chuckle and added, it's the only place where the cold won't feel too unfamiliar, if you know what I mean. There was a pause. Lana blinked. Chad gave a confused half laugh, clearly not following. Then Lana snorted into her wine. Oh my God, Mila! Mila winked. Kidding? I love my little icicle. They all laughed, even Chad, once he caught up. I forced a grin, my face doing its best impression of cool and unfazed, while my brain screamed, what the hell was that? The rest of the night, I went quiet. I watched Chad flex while cutting his steak and listened to Mila giggle at Lana's dumb jokes, but in my head, the words just kept playing over and over. Little icicle. Cold won't feel too unfamiliar. The hell does that mean? Later that night when we got home, I waited until she was brushing her teeth before I brought it up. Hey, what was that thing you said at dinner? She looked at me through the mirror, her mouth foamy with toothpaste. Which thing? The Iceland joke about cold not feeling unfamiliar? She rinsed, then turned toward me with that lazy grin she used when she knew she held the upper hand. God, you're not still thinking about that, are you? She walked past me, patted my chest like I was a lost puppy. Relax, babe. It's a joke. You take everything so seriously sometimes. Then she climbed into bed, pulled the covers up, and turned away, already half asleep. Conversation over. Curtain closed. Applause not included. But I didn't sleep much that night, because no matter how many times I told myself it was harmless, that laugh from Lana still echoed in my head. That wink, that word, little. And something in me flinched. After that night, I tried to shake it off. I really did. I told myself Mila was just being Mila, sarcastic, flirty, teasing. She always had that sharp tongue, even when we were dating, but back then it felt playful. Now it felt targeted, like I was a punchline waiting to happen. The next few weeks, I started paying more attention, not because I was paranoid, okay, maybe a little, but mostly because I was starting to wonder if the Iceland comment was the tip of an iceberg. It was. One Saturday, we were getting ready for a dinner party at her cousin's place. Mila stood in front of the mirror in a black dress so tight it looked like it was painted on. She turned sideways and arched her back, checking her reflection. "Does this make my ass look too big?" she asked, pretending to frown. I looked up from tying my shoes and said, "No, you look amazing, like actually." She smirked and shot back, "Yeah, I bet you say that to every woman who'll let you touch her with your shy little stethoscope." I froze. "My what?" She laughed, adjusting her earrings. "Nothing. Just messing with you. You're so easy to rile up, babe. Don't pout." Stethoscope. As in, small, clinical, non-threatening. I laughed along, or tried to. but inside I felt this slow, creeping heat rise in my neck. That kind of anger you don't show. Not because you're calm, but because you're trying really hard not to explode. And it didn't stop there. She started making size jokes in subtle, socially acceptable ways. One night during a movie, a character on screen stripped down and Mila whistled, loudly. "Damn," she said. "Must be nice to not need imagination." I turned to her, eyes narrowing. She didn't even look at me, just kept watching the screen, munching popcorn. Then came the worst one, so far. We were at her friend Natalie's bachelorette party. I was the designated driver for the girls. Don't ask how I got roped into that. I walked into the living room to grab empty wine glasses, and as I passed by, I caught Mila saying, "Honestly, I thought size didn't matter either, until I realized I was lying to myself." Laughter. A chorus of drunk girls agreeing, toasting to real men. She didn't know I heard. Or maybe she did. Maybe that was the point. I went back into the kitchen, put the glasses down carefully, and stared at the counter. For the first time in my life, I genuinely hated the sound of her laugh. The thing about being a man in this situation, when your own wife keeps jabbing at your manhood like it's some running joke, is that you don't talk about it. Not with your friends, not with your brothers, definitely not with your dad. Because what do you say? "Hey man, my wife thinks I'm not enough, you know? Down there, yeah, no thanks." So instead you internalize it. You brush it off in public, you laugh when she laughs, and then you sit alone at 1 a.m. Googling things you never thought you'd Google. I wish I was kidding. That night, after the bachelorette party disaster, I stayed up long after Mila had passed out drunk on the couch. Her eyeliner smudged, one heel dangling off her foot, phone still glowing in her hand, mid-text, probably still gossiping. I sat in the dark bedroom, phone in hand, and typed into the search bar, "What to do when your wife makes fun of your size?" Hundreds of posts. Most were jokes, memes, garbage, but some hit way too close to home. One guy wrote, "She kept making jokes in front of people. At first I laughed, but after a while, I stopped wanting to touch her. Then I stopped wanting to be in the same room." Another, "It's never really about size. It's about respect. And once that's gone, you can't buy it back. Not with inches, not with gifts, not with begging." That one stuck. I closed the browser and stood up. Walked to the mirror in our bathroom. Flicked on the light. Just me, my reflection. And a voice in my head that no longer sounded like mine. Not enough. I don't know how long I stood there. 5 minutes? 10? I remember studying my face, my chest, my arms. I wasn't some chiseled gym bro, but I took care of myself. I wasn't ugly, I wasn't weak. So why did I feel like I was made of paper? Because Mila didn't make jokes about my cooking, or my salary, or my driving. Just one thing, that thing, over and over until I started to believe her. She hadn't said it directly yet, not in so many words, but the message was always there. Between the lines, in the laughs, in the way she'd sigh after intimacy and immediately roll over like someone clocking out of a shift. I went back to bed that night, pulled the blanket over myself gently, careful not to wake her, and as I stared at the ceiling, I thought, if the person who's supposed to love you doesn't respect you, what are you really left with? Silence. And that silence screamed louder than anything she'd ever said. The next morning, she was all sunshine, as if the night before hadn't happened, as if she hadn't casually humiliated me in front of a room full of tipsy women, while I stood in the kitchen like a damn butler. Mila always had this ability to hit you with a knife and then ask why you're bleeding. She was dancing around the kitchen in her robe, hair tied up, humming some Dua Lipa track, while I sat at the table nursing my coffee like it owed me rent. She looked over and smirked. "You look like you got hit by a train." I didn't answer, just stared at the mug. She tilted her head. "You mad about something?" I looked up. She had that look. The one that says, "I know what I did, but I'm gonna make you say it out loud so I can call you dramatic." I forced a breath. "I heard what you said. At the party." She blinked. "What?" "You said you thought size didn't matter until you realized you were lying to yourself." My voice cracked a little. God, I hated that. I sounded like a hurt kid, not a man. She let out a short laugh, sharp. Oh, that? You're still on about that? You said it in front of everyone, Mila. They were laughing. At me. She rolled her eyes and turned back to the fridge, pulling out orange juice. Jesus, Alex, are we seriously doing this? It was just a stupid line. No one even remembers. I do. I stood now. That wasn't planned, but my body just moved. She stopped pouring and looked at me, finally really looking. But there was no guilt, no regret, just that same flat amusement she wore like perfume. You're being really insecure right now. That word, insecure, the go-to weapon when women want to make a man feel even smaller. You don't think maybe I am insecure, Mela? After months of your jokes? After Iceland? The stethoscope? The way you laugh at anything longer than 3 inches? Silence. She leaned on the counter, arms crossed. So now it's my fault you can't take a joke. Come on, Alex. I married you, didn't I? I stared at her. That line. I married you, didn't I? Like it was a favor. Like I should be grateful she settled. I sat back down. My hands were shaking slightly. I clenched them into fists under the table. Do you even respect me? I asked quietly. She didn't answer, just sipped her juice, like the question didn't deserve one. After that morning, something shifted. Not in her, in me. It wasn't rage. It wasn't some grand epiphany, like a fuse blowing in the back of your mind. A small pop, and suddenly everything's dimmer. We didn't talk much that week. She filled the space with noise, TikToks, loud phone calls with friends, her heels clicking across the floor, the constant drone of her hairdryer. Me? I started listening, not to her voice but to the silence, the space between her words, the pauses. At dinner, I stopped asking how her day was. She didn't notice. She talked about the girls at work, about some influencer getting cheated on, about how men just don't know how to please women anymore. I nodded, drank my wine, and thought about how much I used to care. One night, I got into bed after a late shift. She was already under the blanket, phone in hand, face lit up blue. I stripped down, climbed in next to her. No good night, no glance, no how was your day, just scrolling. I laid there, staring at the ceiling, counting the seconds before I said it. Do you still find me attractive? She didn't look up. What kind of question is that? A real one. She sighed, like I was making her do chores. You're overthinking everything lately, Alex. I turned toward her, watching the glow of her screen. You know, I used to feel safe with you. That made her glance at me, for a moment, just long enough to say, I didn't realize I'd married such a drama queen. She turned her back, phone still glowing in her hand. That was the night I stopped reaching for her. The next morning I stayed in the shower longer than usual. I watched the steam fog up the mirror, then wiped it with my hand and looked at my reflection. My eyes looked different, colder, wiser, like they belonged to someone who had been stupid once and didn't plan on being stupid again. And that's when the thought hit me. Not a plan, not revenge, just a question, soft and poisonous. What if she's testing how much she can get away with? And if that was true, I needed to start keeping score. I started small. The first thing I did was stop announcing my schedule. For the past 2 years, Mila always knew where I was, what time I'd be home, what I was doing. Not because she asked, because I told her, like an idiot reporting for duty. So one Tuesday I just didn't. I stayed late at the office, got a burger alone, sat in the car for half an hour doing nothing, just to see if she'd notice. She didn't call, didn't text, didn't ask. When I got home at 9:45 p.m., she was on the couch with a glass of wine and that same phone glow on her face. Hey, I said casually. Hey, she answered, not even looking up. Long day? Yeah, I said. Unexpected meeting. Sorry I didn't text. It's fine. And that was it. No curiosity, no suspicion, not even fake concern. And that's when the thought hit me like a slap. She doesn't care where I am. She just cares that I don't ask where she's been. So the next time she said, "I'm meeting the girls tonight, probably late. Don't wait up." I didn't. But this time, I followed her. No, I didn't trail her car like some low-budget private eye. I'm not completely insane. I simply checked her location. She'd shared it with me long ago. "For emergencies," she said. "Just in case." I'd never used it, never even opened the app. But that night, at 10:32 p.m., when she hadn't texted or called, I tapped the little icon with her face on it, and she wasn't at the bar she claimed she'd be. She was 2 blocks away, at a hotel. My stomach flipped. I told myself there could be a dozen explanations. Late-night drinks, a friend's birthday, someone needed a place to crash. But explanations are just lies in costume. She came home at 12:47 a.m., smelled like champagne and vanilla. No smudged lipstick, no guilt. Just humming softly as she dropped her purse on the floor and tiptoed into the bedroom like I was already asleep. And I let her think I was, because now I wasn't the husband anymore. I was the audience, and the show was just beginning. After that night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was angry, though I was, not even because I was hurt. It was worse than that. I was focused. There's a moment when your heart finally gives up on being loved and starts craving justice. So I did what any self-respecting, quietly imploding man would do. I bought a cheap burner phone and hid it in my desk drawer, installed a free call recording app, created a new email, started reading forums that no man should ever have to read. Next came the cameras, small, wireless, hidden in plain sight. One in the bookshelf, one in the smoke detector, one in a fake charger in the bedroom. No, not because I wanted to catch her in the act. I wasn't sure I could stomach that. But I needed proof. Real, undeniable, soul-punching proof. And Mila, she made it easy. She started coming home later, started showering the moment she walked in, even if she didn't go to the gym. Started leaving her phone face down, started locking it. She never used to lock it. She also changed the way she touched me. Actually, if she touched me. Her hugs became half shoulder pats. Her kisses, little taps on the cheek. And when we were alone in bed, she'd shift away just enough that I had to pretend not to notice. One evening, I came home early from work, unannounced. I stood in the hallway and heard her on the phone in the kitchen. Low voice, half laughs, that flirty tone I hadn't heard in months, and never lately with me. I didn't move, just listened. "No, I can't tonight. He came home early yesterday. I think he's starting to notice." He, not you. She wasn't talking about me. My throat dried up. My hand tightened on the doorknob. Then silence. A long pause. And her voice again, soft but firm. "Don't worry. He still thinks I'm joking. He always does." I backed away quietly. Went upstairs. It didn't take a genius to know something was off. The perfume that didn't match her usual brand. The sudden need for showers the second she got home. The new passcode on her phone. But even with all that, I still wanted to believe I was wrong. That maybe I was just being paranoid. That maybe I really was too sensitive, like she always said. Then one day, she left her laptop open. I wasn't snooping. Not at first. I walked past it like I always did. Coffee in hand, half distracted. But something on the screen caught my eye. A group chat tab blinking. "Boss babes." I stared, paused, then sat down and clicked. And that's when everything shattered. The most recent message was from Mila. "OMG, you guys. I faked a migraine again last night. If I have to keep pretending I'm into it, I might start invoicing him per session." Laughter emojis flooded in. Brooke replied, "Girl, you need to stop. He doesn't even suspect?" Mila, "Please, Alex still thinks cuddling means I want something. It's like living with a golden retriever who can pay rent." My hands tightened around the coffee mug. I kept scrolling. Then came this. "Ryan's ruined me. I can't even look at Alex the same way after our last strategy meeting, Ryan. So that's his name." That name popped up again and again. "You're so lucky," one of them wrote. Mila replied, "No one suspects a thing. He's just the quiet office guy. Even HR would probably apologize if they walked in on us." My pulse slowed. Ryan, from her office. The guy she always said was just a friend from work. The one she claimed was all business, all the time. So that's who she was really meeting during her late nights. I didn't yell, didn't break anything. I just opened my laptop, logged into the app that connected to the hidden cameras I'd installed weeks earlier, back when I first had a feeling. 2 in the living room, 1 upstairs in the hallway, discreet, silent, always watching. The app loaded, feed opened. I clicked the date from 3 days ago, 4:16 p.m. There she was in the living room, wearing that short robe I hadn't seen in months. Then came Ryan. She opened the door for him, smiled like a teenager on prom night, and pulled him inside. They kissed. He put his bag down like he belonged there. She laughed, took his hand, and led him upstairs, right past our wedding photo on the wall. I sat there, still, staring at the screen like it was someone else's life. Then I clicked download, labeled the file meeting recorded.move. That night, while she was out again, I copied the entire chat into a PDF, took screenshots, clipped the video, even downloaded the audio from the hallway cam, where she whispered, "I need to shower before Alex comes home from work." I dragged everything onto a USB drive, then pulled out a Sharpie, and in thick, cold letters I wrote, "You lied." And I began to wait for the right moment. There's a kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels clean. That's what filled our house after I read those messages. Not anger, not sorrow, just space. Space to breathe, to think, to rebuild. The next morning, I got up before sunrise, took a long look at myself in the mirror. Same face, same body, same everything, except it wasn't. Because the man looking back at me had finally stopped apologizing for existing. That week, I signed up for the gym near my office. Not because I wanted abs, not for some dramatic before and after revenge montage. I just needed to sweat it out. The shame, the doubt, her voice in my head. I showed up 5 days in a row. Nobody cheered. Nobody noticed. Perfect. Next came the therapist. Private. Online. Unfiltered. I booked a session, sat on a couch with a laptop and said, "I think I married someone who hates me. And worse, I still wanted her to love me." The therapist didn't flinch, just nodded and said, "Let's figure out why." And slowly, I started to. At home, I became a ghost. Polite, calm, distant. Mila didn't notice, not really. She was too busy putting on lipstick before heading out for another one of her vague girl nights. Too busy hiding her phone in her purse. Too busy playing house with a man she thought was still crawling for crumbs. And then came Claire. I met her at the gym. She wasn't flashy. She didn't strut. She smiled like she meant it. She corrected my form once while I was struggling with deadlifts, then casually added, "You've got great posture. Just need to trust your own strength more." I almost laughed, but she said it without irony. A few days later, we had smoothies, then dinner, then everything else. She didn't ask about my marriage. She didn't need to. After one night together, while we were lying under cheap motel sheets, she turned to me and said, "You know, you're the best I've ever had. I don't know what that idiot wife of yours was complaining about." I didn't say anything, but I smiled. And it wasn't the smile of a man who needed validation. It was the smile of a man who finally knew he was never the problem. The thing about betrayal is, it doesn't end when you catch it. It ends when you decide to stop playing nice. And I had stopped. Mila was still living in the past, in the version of me that apologized, explained, tiptoed. She noticed I was distant now, colder. She noticed the gym bag, the new clothes, the longer nights out. But instead of asking the hard questions, she did what manipulators do when their leash slips. She played nice, made my coffee, smiled more, threw in a random, "You look really good today," like it was a fishing hook. I didn't bite. One Thursday, I left a folder on the kitchen counter. Simple. Black. Nothing flashy. Inside, a USB drive. Labeled in bold Sharpie. "You lied." I texted her, "Rough day, mind starting dinner?" She got home before me. When I walked in, the kitchen smelled like garlic and hesitation. She was sitting on the couch, remote in hand, TV off, frozen. The folder was open, the USB in her lap. "What is this?" she asked quietly. "You watched it?" I asked, hanging up my coat like we were just two roommates having a regular night. She nodded slowly, her voice cracked. "You recorded us?" "I recorded my house." I poured myself a drink. Calm. Turns out I wasn't the only one living in it. She stood now, defensive. "You went through my messages? You spied on me?" I turned to face her. "You mocked me, lied to me, brought another man into our home and got intimate with him 2 rooms away from our wedding photo. And now you're worried about privacy?" Her face flushed. "It wasn't supposed to go that far." "You said that to your friend Brooke too," I said, sipping my drink. "Right before the part where you called me a retriever that pays rent." Silence. She was scrambling now, looking for a version of me she could still guilt, still control. He was gone. "What do you want from me?" she asked finally, arms crossed. I set my glass down. "Nothing." Pause. "You're not the victim, Mila. You're just not as clever as you thought." She narrowed her eyes. "What are you planning?" I smiled, slow and quiet. "Well, you should probably brush up on HR policy. Turns out sleeping with a coworker, then bragging about it in group chats, doesn't look great to legal." Her face froze. "You didn't." I walked past her toward the stairs. "Check your inbox." She didn't sleep that night. I could hear her pacing upstairs while I watched TV. The same woman who used to fall asleep mid-sentence now couldn't stop checking her phone every 30 seconds. It was kind of poetic. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen like nothing happened. She was there, already dressed for work, too put together for someone who hadn't touched her breakfast. She turned the second I walked in. "Can we talk?" I opened the fridge. "We are." "No, I mean seriously, please." I poured myself some juice. Sat down. She stayed standing, hands clasped like she was in court. "I messed up, okay? But you have to admit, we've been distant for a long time. I didn't plan for it to go that way. It just happened." Ah, the classic. It just happened. Like cheating was a car accident. I looked at her for a long second. "You humiliated me, for months, behind my back and to my face, with your friends, your coworkers, and Ryan." Her mouth twitched at his name. I ended it. I raised an eyebrow. "Before or after I emailed HR?" Her face dropped. "You really did that? You think I'd bluff at this stage?" Silence. She sat down across from me, eyes pleading now. The same woman who used to call me insecure now looked like a student begging for extra credit. "You don't have to destroy everything. We can fix this. We've built a life, Alex. A home." I sipped my juice. "You brought someone else into this home." She leaned forward. I wasn't thinking straight. "No," I said, calm as ice. "You were thinking you'd never get caught." She blinked. And then, as if on cue, her voice changed. Softer. Warmer. "I still love you, you know." That made me laugh. Not a bitter laugh, just amused. "You don't even respect me, Mila. You laughed at me with your friends, mocked our intimacy, and turned me into a character in your jokes." She reached across the table. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I pulled my hand back. "You didn't care if you did." Her last card came out slow and shaky. "Do you still love me?" I looked her right in the eye. "I used to." And with that, I got up, grabbed my keys. "You'll hear from my attorney soon." She didn't follow me. Not this time. After I filed for divorce, I moved into a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy. 1 bedroom, quiet neighbors, close to the gym, just mine. The house? She stayed, for now, but we agreed to sell it. Too many memories there, and too many ghosts. The envelope came on a Monday. Thin, plain, official, inside, finalized divorce decree, signed, stamped, done, no confetti, no dramatic background music, just paper and ink, and freedom. I placed it on the kitchen counter next to my keys, took a deep breath, and for the first time in a long while, I exhaled without weight on my chest. 2 days later, the follow-up email from HR arrived. Thank you for your cooperation. Please note, per policy, your complaint has led to an internal compliance review. Both involved employees have been suspended pending further action. Translation: Mila and Ryan were no longer untouchable. I didn't forward it, didn't post it, didn't gloat. Just saved the PDF in a folder called Peace of Mind. That weekend, Claire came over. She brought food, beer, and her easy smile. No drama, no expectations. We sat on the balcony, city lights flickering below. So, it's done? She asked gently. I nodded. Papers came Monday. She didn't say, I'm sorry. She didn't say, she doesn't deserve you. She just leaned in, kissed me softly and whispered, took her years to break you. Took me one dinner to see you. And damn, that hit harder than anything Mila ever said. Sunday morning, I passed by the old house. Not by accident. I had a meeting with the realtor. Time to finally sell the place. But as fate would have it, she was there. Mila. Sweater hanging off one shoulder, coffee mug in hand, hair tied in a rushed bun. No makeup, no mask. She saw me, froze, then walked toward the car. I rolled the window down halfway. You really filed, she said, more stunned than angry. You really thought I wouldn't? She swallowed hard. Is this really the end? It was the end the moment you made me a punchline. Pause. She tried to soften her voice. You look good. I feel good. Another pause. Are you with her? I didn't lie. Didn't brag. She respects me. That's more than you ever did. She looked down, bit her lip. You're really not coming back. No, I said simply. I'm not the man you walked all over anymore. And this time, I drove away not angry, not hurt, just done. A year later, I barely recognized my old life. New apartment, new role at work. Promotion came faster than I expected once I stopped dragging my insecurities with me. New mornings with fresh coffee and peace instead of tiptoeing around tension. New nights wrapped around someone who saw me, really saw me. Claire stayed, not because I chased her, not because I needed to be saved, but because two whole people found each other after walking through fire separately. A year later, I barely recognized my old life. New apartment, new role at work. Promotion came faster than I expected once I stopped dragging my insecurities with me. New mornings with fresh coffee and peace instead of tiptoeing around tension. New nights wrapped around someone who saw me, really saw me. Claire stayed, not because I chased her, not because I needed to be saved, but because two whole people found each other after walking through fire separately. One fall afternoon, Claire and I were walking through a small outdoor market. Pumpkin spice everything in the air, couples everywhere. And then I saw her, Mila, alone, standing in line for coffee, hair tied back, eyes dull in a way I'd never seen before. She saw us too, saw me laughing, saw Claire lean on my shoulder like we'd been built for that space, saw everything she thought she'd never lose, thriving without her. She froze. I gave her a nod, not cruel, not smug, just final, and kept walking. Claire didn't ask who she was. She didn't need to. She just squeezed my hand a little tighter.